So I guess I really don't understand your response to Justice Gorsuch on the black codes. I mean, I thought the black codes were being offered here under the Bruin test to determine the constitutionality of this regulation. And it's because we have a test that asks us to look at the history and tradition. The fact that the black codes were at some later point determined themselves to be unconstitutional doesn't seem to me to be relevant to the assessment that Bruin is asking us to make. So can you say more about that?
Absolutely. Black codes were unconstitutional from the moment of their inception because they are pretextual laws that are designed to ensure that newly freed slaves are returned to a condition of sharecropping.
Okay, let me stop you there. They were not deemed unconstitutional at the time that they were enacted. They were part of the history and tradition of the country. And when we have a test now that's asking us to look at what people were doing back then, I don't understand why they should be excluded.
Because they are outliers. They are by definition unconstitutional. They have
found later,
unconstitutional.
Afterwards, not at the time. And if the test says what's happening at the time tells us what's constitutional for this purpose, why aren't they in?
Respectfully, a law is always unconstitutional. When it's from its inception,
so the history doesn't matter. We shouldn't care about the history then.
We should deeply care about the history, but the whole point of the Bruin framework is as follows. The history and tradition of the Second Amendment are particularly important because it is codifying a pre-existing right. To figure out in sort of common law fashion what the national history and tradition are, you throw out outliers. And I can think of no greater outlier than blatantly unconstitutional laws that flipped what had been the tradition in states like Louisiana. And during the period before those states were readmitted to the Union, for the purpose of trying to reduce newly freed slaves back to conditions of servitude, made it a new crime, new trespass, in order to go about armed on private property. Those are obvious outliers.
All right,
it should not count under the whole point of Bruin.
Mr. Katyal will address it.
Yeah, so for those that are not familiar with the black codes, I want to just explain the black codes to you real fast. This is the black codes of 1865 to 1866. They were laws passed by Southern states right after the Civil War to control newly freed Black Americans after slavery was abolished by the 13th Amendment. Now, slavery ended on paper, but the mindset didn't. Southern leaders feared losing cheap labor and social control, so they replaced slavery with laws. Black people were forced into yearly labor contracts, mostly plantation work, and vagrancy laws made it a crime to be unemployed, allowing police to arrest and force them into labor. Mississippi led the way, banning Black people from certain jobs, restricting land ownership, limiting speech, assembly, gun ownership, so forth and so on, and even preaching without permission. That was also outlawed as well, as per the quote unquote black codes. Other Southern states followed with similar laws. The message was clear: you're free, but not equal. And the laws outraged a lot of folks. It outraged Republicans who responded with the Civil Rights Act of 1866. It's crazy. So I wanted you guys to kind of get an understanding of what these actual black codes were that Ketanji Brown Jackson was defending. Now, let me play you the clips from Justice Alito and Justice Thomas. They smack her down big time. Crazy.
Wasn't the purpose of the laws in the post-Reconstruction South that disarmed Black people precisely to prevent them from doing what the Second Amendment is designed to protect, which is to defend yourself against attacks? They didn't want that. They wanted to disarm the Black population in order to help the Klan terrorize them and law enforcement officers in that period, in that region. They wanted to put them at the mercy of racist law enforcement officers. So is it not the height of irony to cite a law that was enacted for exactly the purpose of preventing someone from exercising the Second Amendment right, to cite this as an example of what the Second Amendment protects?
If you're going to cite the Louisiana Black Codes of 1865, don't you also have to cite the subsequent adoption of the 14th Amendment that was in part generated because of laws like that?
Right, so that is exactly our point, that the Reconstruction Congress that ratified the 14th Amendment, this is the unusual case in which you have those folks saying, effectively, Louisiana should come in, and many of the parts of the black codes, including parts that Justice Alito referring to, that were racially discriminatory about firearms, were struck from the Louisiana law. But this law stayed in effect. And so, yes, we do think it is relevant history. We don't think our argument depends on it, because there's statute after statute from the founding on, and the idea that that the number of statutes we've provided isn't enough, I think is very hard to reconcile when you have zero tradition, zero evidence on the other side saying these statutes were problematic. I mean, these statutes are around. You would have thought someone, if this was an infringement on the right to keep and bear arms, would have had a court case, a commentator, anything like what you had in Bruin. You've got none of that.
Well, actually, there was quite, as I said in my McDonald opinion, quite a bit of discussion of these sorts of laws and the consideration of some that they thought that the Privileges or Immunities Clause in the 14th Amendment preempted these. That's simply my point.
So, Justice Thomas, I agree with you about what you said there, but I don't think that applied to this specific question, which is private property default rules. I think what the evidence you were talking about there dealt with other aspects of state regulation over firearms.
Okay, so this is what Ketanji Brown Jackson is defending. Hawaii has a Second Amendment ban in the state. It's made it all the way up to the Supreme Court. Ketanji Brown Jackson is using quote unquote black codes to defend Hawaii's right to ban the citizens in the state of Hawaii to keep them from utilizing or having the ability to operate in their Second Amendment right. And she used the black codes to defend it. I'm telling you, Democrats have not changed. I don't think they've changed at all. They are who they've always been. They are who they've always been. And the fact that you have somebody in the highest court in the land to bring up the black codes to defend banning people from, operating in their rights. I just find that just flat out diabolical, ridiculous, crazy, insane, whatever you want to call it, whatever word you want to use. It just makes absolutely no sense. And it's just another example of why this particular individual should have never been selected to a lifelong appointment as a Supreme Court justice. Drives me crazy, man. Celeste, I'll give you the first word and we'll go.
What I see here is that what Ketanji Brown's defense is trying to do is to actually reduce the citizens of Hawaii to the status of second-class citizen as free as pre-emancipation or just post-emancipation blacks were or newly freed slaves were. So when you say Democrats are who they have always been, that would be in fact true, because what the Democrats tried to do in the Reconstruction period was to keep black newly freed slaves into a second-class citizenship and therefore create a subset of extra constitutional rules that then this second class sub-citizen was supposed to be ruled by. And what Ketanji Brown Jackson is trying to do is say Hawaii has implemented those persons who want to own guns on private property into a second class citizenry, and that the state should be allowed to then now have extra constitutional rules that says this group of second-class citizens now has to follow this set of rules. And that is, in fact, exactly what makes it unconstitutional, is that we don't have classes of citizenry. And we do have a limited amount of protected classes. And those protected classes, until very recently with the Oberfeld with the gay marriage ruling, is in fact only based on immutable characteristics, which seems somewhat okay, that you can't discriminate based on an immutable characteristic. But to be honest, the Constitution already covers that. If you just deal with citizenry and who is in fact a citizen, then you can figure out what they're supposed to follow, which is the rules of the constitutions. States should not be allowed, as they were back then. Democrats tried back post Reconstruction with black codes, and are still trying today in every manner of way to create these extra citizenry classes for either protections or for punishment. So those groups that they want to exalt, they want to create laws that protect them. And those groups that they want to punish, they want to create laws. But basically, what they're ultimately trying to do is just create extra classes of people and extra laws to govern those classes of people, which is absolutely directly in antithesis to what the Constitution was drafted to do.
You know, when the woman could not define what a woman is, she should have never been confirmed. She never should have. Let's just be real. Because the problem here, as you just broke down, she's suggesting that the black code should still be considered under the Bruin test because they're part of history. And that's the mistake in all of this, because it's not asking you what bad laws existed. It's asking what lawful traditions respect the constitutional rights. And the thing is, if you allow unconstitutional racist laws to count as a valid historical precedent, then every injustice in American history becomes fair. You might as well throw in slavery laws, Jim Crow laws. You might as well throw in segregation laws. You might as well put everything into the pot to figure this out. And that doesn't preserve the rights. It erases all of them. Yeah. And that is what they were trying to say to them. That is what the Deputy Solicitor General was trying to push back and say. And the fact that she's sitting here arguing this is the problem, because this is why we say she's a DEI hire, because her argument is prioritizing, just like she did with the black people being black as a disability. She's prioritizing the identity-based ideology in everything she does over constitutional logic. Yep. And that's the problem with her. So how can we put someone like that in charge, as you said, a lifetime appointment over all of this time? And we're just going to keep hearing this foolishness. Y'all know I look at everything from a biblical worldview. Y'all know what I do. And when I look at this, all I keep seeing whenever she speaks is woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Because again, the black codes were evil. We're very aware of that. Since she wants to use race for a moment, ma'am, as a black woman, you should know that they were evil. So why would you even bring this up? Like, it doesn't even make sense. The thing is, you want to talk about history? Yes, bad history can help explain injustice, but it should not ever be used to justify law. And the fact that she's trying to do that as a Supreme Court justice is absolutely, positively disgusting. And I wish we could figure out a way to get her out of there, because she's really annoying to me.
Yeah, I agree. AT, I want you to get in there.
Yeah,
wherever you'd like to go with this.
I'm listening to this and I see the greatest concern I have. Y'all said it a few times. It's a lifelong appointment. That is something that so desperately needs to change, because we have someone who, notice that liberals never talk about this, right? How dare you call her a DEI hire? And much like a toddler, they'll cross their arms, look into a corner, and just refuse to hear anything else that you say. There's no rational conversation about this. I would actually almost pay to hear somebody on the left defend what she is talking about, defend that she thinks that apparently we're disabled because we're black, and not be able to identify what a woman is. But that doesn't happen. Instead, it's, how could you possibly look at this when so much is happening right now on the right? How could you? And I know that's coming from CNN and MSNBC. There is no critical thinking anymore in this nation. And this is an example of what happens when you raise somebody with nothing but ideology, when you raise somebody with nothing but identity politics, and they wind up getting a seat at, to your point, Wise, the highest level of court in the United States of America. And now this is someone who's making these decisions. I would love to be a fly on the wall back behind closed doors to hear what her peers think about some of the takes that she's had with recent regulation. She is a Black woman, self-identified, who is saying, no, let's go back. So if not the Black codes, then what else can we talk about? Let's talk about separate but equal. Let's just bring that back. Why not? If we're going to go back and look at the things that used to exist in this country, always introduced by Democrats, by the way, and not have a serious conversation. I think that is the crux of the issue. We don't want to have a serious conversation anymore. I was last week, I think it was, that you brought up another Ketanji Jackson video, and I don't understand why we're not demanding answers to these hard questions. What is a woman? No, don't dance around it. We're going to get this answer right now. What did you mean when you said that all Black people are disabled? Why do you go back to something like Black codes? And I feel like this justice is just programmed. She's doing what she was hired to do, to the point where we're now starting to see cartoonish ridiculousness that they will never, ever acquiesce. Don't agree with anybody on the right. Don't agree with the conservative. Matter of fact, you're not the same. They're your enemy. Everything they say goes against you. And when you get past the lines of logic, this is what it sounds like. There's stuttering, there's confusion, and now we're trying to pull up whatever we can to stick to our side, because it doesn't matter about the prosperity of the United States of America. It doesn't matter about people coming together. What was the comment that you just put up there? Something about hate, encouraging more hate. Do Democrats realize that they've become the new racist of 2026? Do they realize that they're the ones that are now fueling for future generations a focus on not your character, not your skills, not what you've been taught, and not what you've done and committed to the world? No. Your skin color is the first thing, and the only thing in a lot of cases that matters. They'll know it about you before you walk into a room. And what's worse is they will tell you you are entitled to things because of your skin color. I remember when she actually got appointed to the Supreme Court. Everyone was so excited. Every single individual on the left who had any kind of pigmentation was so proud. Oh, look, we got a sister on the Supreme Court. We got a Black woman representing. Where'd she come from? What state did she come from? What kind of cases did she sit over? Do you know her legal history as a justice? No, you're just really happy that someone who looks like you is up there. And that's the issue with this identity politics. You will side with someone who looks just like you, someone you say, I can see myself in her. My question is, why do you restrict yourself so much that you have to have someone who looks like you in order to think that you can achieve anything in this country? Martin Luther King Jr. Day just passed, and the entire Black community seems to have forgotten what he truthfully stood for. Judge me not on the color of my skin, but the content of my character. But now liberals are saying, no, look at the color of the skin, judge them for that, give them things because of that, or if you are white, take things away from them.
Do you guys recall when Representative Byron Donalds made a statement in reference to Jim Crow?
Yes.
And how he tried to,
they went crazy.
And I mean, they went crazy because it's like, how dare you justify Jim Crow?
Yeah.
Where's the outcry now?
Where is the outcry today?
Yep.
How dare she justify the Black codes? How dare you, ma'am? Where is the outcry? Where is the Roland Martins and the Joy Reids and the all the other the Black Boule? Where are they at? Where is the outrage?
Good question.
Collective outrage.
Good question.
They'll never go against their own team. That's where.
Go ahead, Minister Denzel. I just had to get that off my chest real fast.
I got you.
The other thing too, could you imagine what it would be wall-to-wall coverage if Clarence Thomas made that same argument?
They'd call for his removal immediately.
Yep.
That's right. Listen, Rod Sterling would have had a field day on this kind of thing, man. This is like out of the Twilight Zone. This would have made an excellent Twilight Zone episode. I mean, it's so funny to hear this lady actually bypass who passed those laws, why they passed those laws, and focus on the fact that it was a law. As if it being a law for a brief moment of time makes it relevant to anything. It was wrong. It was against the Constitution from the beginning. It had no precedent. It was just racist. And you, a Black justice, is defending a racist law that was very short-lived, and it was promoted and produced by racist people. And you deserve to be on the Supreme Court. Let's just remember who put her there.
Yeah.
Let's remember who put her there. And let's remember what would have happened had Kamala and Tricky Waltz got in there. We would have had a lot more of that kind of Supreme justices on that Supreme Court. So we are blessed. Call Trump crazy all you want to. Call them all kind of names. We dodged a bomb, and you better thank Like I said
Better
before,
thank you, conservative.
you better think a conservative. You better think Donald Trump for winning. Amen. Because we've dodged a major bullet because this is insanity. And why the very important point you made was that these soul hustlers, these race hustlers are not saying a word about this insanity.
Minister Danza, do you remember when during one of the debates, I don't remember which one, they kept asking former Vice President Harris, are you going to stack the Supreme Court?
Yes.
I remember they asked them over and over again. She never answered that question. And now we have it. And look, I'm just going to take her philosophy and I'm going to show this justice her respect. We have a disabled Black woman who's now on the Supreme Court. And to your point, a lot of people would ask Crystal and I a couple of years ago.
The sisterhood gonna come for you. You called her a disabled Black woman. The sisterhood gonna come for you, bro.
Is this not the same individuals that say respect how I identify myself, right? Call me how I want. She said Black people are disabled. She's a disabled Black Supreme Court justice. There you go. I can't call her a female justice. She doesn't know what one is, right? But I wholeheartedly agree that if we went that direction, we see what's happening with Waltz. Sure, we'll talk about it, but we would have been at World War III. It's very, very easy to have that conversation. But again, the issue is not us up here being able to identify it. The issue is the people on the left, fingers, ears, eyes closed, can't hear you. I've been told you're my enemy. When we unite as America, we're a threat to the entire world because we're one strong people, one strong country. Liberals want to keep us divided while at the same time trying to make you feel empowered for being who you are, not for what you bring to the table.
Excellent.
Exactly.
Excellent, man.
I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. If you'd like to go the extra mile and support the channel financially, hey, there's a link down there. Buy some merch. Support us, get one of those Pray Don't Worry hoodies or t-shirts, or you can buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. Join us for ARP in the morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday and Fridays. And I appreciate everybody that supports what we're doing over here at ARP. And as always, keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
It is God who arms me with strength. Yeah, I'm battle ready. He trains my hands for battle. My heart stays steady. Thanks be to God, he gives us the victory. Through my Lord Jesus Christ, it can't live in me. I was down to the dirt, red clay on my shoes, old pain in my shirt, oh so bruised. Then the Lord hit my chest, kicked air from my breath, put power in my step.